All right. Hey, welcome to the Saturday Morning Live Backyard Professor Chess. We're looking at Artur Yusupov. Today we're going to do a short one. I wanted to do a long one. I have been under the weather. I don't know what it is. I've got one of those summer colds that's just beating the snot out of me, or sneezing the snot out of me. If I sneeze all over the place, forgive me. I've got my hanky here, but I do want to share one very cool game by Artur Yusupov, and this is in the section. Glasses off. This is S. Bucher, who he's playing. This happened in Bundesliga, 1993. And so, hey, how are you, Bella Glavi? Sup? Good to see you. And so, this particular game now this is in the chapter of basic opening principles. And what I love about this is the way he illustrates basic opening principles. So easy that we can all do it, but it's so easy that sometimes we forget to. It's crazy how that works that way. But anyway, Yusupov is playing the black pieces in this game. His opponent begins with F4. Yusupov says, okay, let's go D5. And now immediately he's going to try to fianchetto. And Yusupov says, in this particular situation, knight F3 is better. So it's all good. Bishop comes to G4, putting the pin on the center pawn. He hinders the natural move, knight F3. Then black can take on F3, and his opponent gets doubled pawns. You see what he's talking about? If he now pulls the knight out, he's simply going to take the knight, and he gives him doubled pawns on the side that white wants to castle. So in an opening idea, that is not as good as white was hoping. He does go to H3. There is no rush. And this is a really important lesson too. Actually, he has somewhat blocked the knight to coming out to F3, right? But there really is no rush to chase that bishop off just yet. Observe something interesting. And again, this always does seem to happen. A lot of pawn moves by white in the opening. And that's not good. So the opening principles, probably one of the main ones is get as many pieces out as you possibly can. And white is not doing that in this particular game. And so he is going to drop his bishop back. He's going to keep the pressure on the pawn so that white can't build up a central pawn. And not only that, but keeping this pawn down makes it so he can't open up for the bishop. So he wants to keep the pressure. There are instances where you will want to move your bishop back. In this instance, Yusupov says no. Let's park him right there. And now, ta-da! Okay, now really seriously, white is making huge errors. And it's just the fifth move, right? Way too many pawn moves. There is no reason to chase that bishop at this point before bringing out your other knight. And you still have a queen pawn that will open up your dark squared bishop. Sincerely, this is truly way too many pawn moves. And that is really critical and important to see this. G4, and now, yes. Now, observe this is quite remarkable when you stop and think about it, because he's not worrying about his bishop, is he? Hey, MH. And Bella Glavi, sup? Good to see you guys. Hold on. I want to make sure I get this right. G4. Yeah, he ignores the threat to the bishop. He's going to open. He's going to control more of the center, but in the process of controlling it with those central pawns, he also opens the way for his bishop. And this is really important to see this. Are you in Siberia, Belaglavi Sup? I didn't know you was in Siberia. Yeah, MH, you're watching with a bit of the flu. I'm playing with a bit of the flu. I'm only going to do this one today. I will make up for it next Saturday, but I'm just not feeling up to snuff at all. And this particular E5, he says, aha, my opponent is giving me the opportunity to seize the center, which is always the correct thing, so I do. And this is a really important idea here. Now he comes to knight f3. And at this point, and G can't take h5. I hope you noticed that. That's the other point. I just left that commented on because I was telling you more about what he should have been doing, but he can't take them because the queen will go checkmate. Queen h4. It's that fast. This is the serious error of opening with so many pawn moves, and especially on the side that you want to castle your king. White is already lost, really, truly without question. And of course, forward march. When you can get two central pawns that are mobile, oh man, you can have a lot of fun. And let's observe how Yusupov does play this. White loses even more time because he's going to have to move for a second time a piece which is already developed. And e3, he comes to e3, and now he'll bop his bishop back. So he's still got a very powerful center with pawns in the center. Black does, yes. And this is really interesting how he does this. Knight will come to e5, again hitting the bishop, and bishop will come to d6. Get the pieces out. Now, this is kind of a cool contrast in a way, right? Because if he lets him take the bishop, and I know we hear, bishops better than knights, right? But if he does let him take the bishop and he doubles up the pawns, isn't that the same principle of a problematic opening that White was going to have? No, and the reason why is because he's better developed. He's ahead in that regard, and that makes all the difference. So this is a very important point here. And yes, he's going to take the knight, and the H will take. Now, you want to take it with the H. If for nothing else, you have a wonderful open file for the rook. That actually, interestingly enough, true, it doubles the pawns, but it does develop the rook. So that's kind of cool. And then the queen comes out to e2. And now, so the rule, when you have doubled pawns, go ahead and advance them because they won't prove a weakness if you can advance them. And so that makes sense if you're wondering, well, what do I do? I'm to this point. I'm to this point in the game. I don't have as many pieces developed as I want. Can I get my queen coming in? Can I bop my knight out? I have three options for my knight, 6, 6, or 7, d7, etc. But with the doubled pawns and the way his pawn structure is on the king's side, it is better to go ahead and take the time and push that pawn because it's going to blow open that king side. So that's why g5, he is attacking. Excuse me. He's attacking the weaknesses on the king side. If you can advance your pawns, and white appears to be doing better at advancing his pawns on the king's side than black, right? But you notice the pieces are not coordinating behind them as well or as much as they could, and therefore it's creating more weaknesses. Every time you push a pawn, you leave weaknesses behind it. Every time. No, hey, Big Daddy, story time. Good to see you, my friend. Yes, thank you, Bella Glavis up. H4 is weakened. Look at how bad H4 is. Exactly. So this is a very interesting idea. And now he comes to Queen B5 check. And this is a dubious move. Here's why, according to Yusupov. He says, well, white is already badly placed. So this attempt to win a pawn gives his opponent a decisive lead in development. So you remember the rule, the idea here, the principle is it's even better if you can convince your opponent to waste more time so that you can get a lead in development. Once you get that lead, you play very energetic. You play very fast, very dynamic. Go, man, go. You find a way to attack and you never stop. Once you get to the lead in development, a sizable lead. And so let's see what happens here. And now here comes the knight. And that's with tempo. Now, it's not threatening the queen, I agree. But blocking the check with a developing piece is a tempo. Very cool. Queen takes d5. Son of a gun, he took a central pawn. Do we freak out? No, not at all. Because here's what we're going to do. We're going to blow open. Notice this wing pawn exchange opens up the center. Interesting. Yeah? Watch this. G takes f4. He finally gets to Phi and Keto, bishop b2. F takes e3. And now, kablam, man, it's blown wide open. Isn't that remarkable? From the wing, the pawns have blown open the center, and white isn't castled. And he's not anywhere near ready to castle on the other side either. He's got 2 more moves before he can do that. So he is starting to get in a little bit of trouble, and queen is going to take e4 check. He takes the double pawn, and he simply dodges out of the way and says, well, whoops, black can't castle now, Yusupov, you're in trouble. Watch. Watch the grandmaster at work. He is safe here. Bishop will come to d3. And there it is. Queen h4 check. I hope you kept that in mind. I kind of gave you a hint last couple of moves before previous that this is definitely an option, and it is absolutely definitely an option. Hey, Maltbike, good to see you. Yeah, I am good. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I'm only going to do this one short one today. I'll make it up to you next week if I'm feeling better. Hopefully I will by then for sure. But we've got a great explanation of opening development that Yusupov is showing us. So here, another piece developed with tempo because you have to address that. Yes. So king will come to d1. And now, look at this. Another developing move with tempo. Hit the queen. And it's a central file with that rook, yeah? And you say, yeah, but, I mean, he's got a knight, and he's got a rook way over there that's kind of boxed in, so in a way, he's going to be playing with lesser pieces. This example here is so wonderful because it shows how a lead in development overcomes other problems in an opening. Doesn't overcome everything. No, of course not. But this helps me see how wonderful it is to get your pieces out because they will compensate for any weaknesses you might have for a move or two, not the whole game. No, you got to keep playing excellent chess. But this is a really interesting point that he shows here. Queen is going to come to G2. And now knight will come to E5. 3 centralized pieces for black. Yeah. 2 pieces developed for white. The queen does hit this. That's, technically speaking, that could be classified as a target, of course. But, I mean, that puts the queen way out of the way of the action, right? She's got to be down here to protect this king, to protect the back rank with those rooks. So the activity of the black queen is much better than the white queen because the black queen is closer to the king. You're checking for checks, captures, and threats. The closer you can get to your opponent's king, the more checks, captures, and threats that you can do. And therefore, the piece activity of the knight is vastly superior to the knight. The piece activity of the bishop is vastly superior. Well, okay, hold on. Maybe not vastly superior. The bishops are about even, but it's all pointing in the right direction with the queen there. So there's a little bit of, boy, I'm letting my bias get the best of me, right? Go, Artur! Yeah, baby! Anyway, wow, that's enough to give me a headache. So knight e5, bishop e2. Bishop's going to tuck back down because you don't want to, white has the bishop pair, and so you don't want to exchange a bishop for a knight at this point because you can see how open the chessboard is, right? Meaning, and forgive me if I keep repeating so many of the same ideas, but this is how we progress. So please don't think I'm talking down to you. I promise I am not talking down to you in any manner. But there are no pawns that are locked in the center. And technically, there's not a lot of pieces of either player in the center, although you can see black definitely has the more dominant center. So this is relatively open. So if you can get your bishops on the long diagonals, they can become stronger. That's what white is trying to do. That's why white bumped down. Instead of taking the pawn with his pawn, notice he left the tension because it's more important to keep that bishop. Don't exchange it for the knight. Yeah? Okay, so hopefully I won't lose my place here. Bishop e2, I didn't. Okay, now knight f6. And now there's no question this is better for black. Absolutely no question. Black is doing really good. He's brought all of his pieces into play, for instance. The white rooks are undeveloped, and the king is in the center of white. That is critical. Understand that. See this. All of the pieces. And you say, yeah, but not that rook. Yes, that rook. He opened up the file. Absolutely, that rook is developed. Every one of them are active. Yes. And neither rook, the knight, are developed for white, and the king is in the center. That is why black has a much better chance of winning this game today. If you find yourself in this position, you're ready to start rolling. Rock and roll. So here we go. And he finally does bring the knight out, but now watch how he skillfully uses his developed pieces to work this. He's ahead in development. Therefore, he can sack a piece in order to open up the white position to go after that king. That is really an important principle. If you are ahead in development, not only does that compensate for other various types of weaknesses you might have, but it gives you a chance to throw one of your pieces out there as a missile to destroy the position of the opponent. This is really cool how he does this. Love how he does this. Rook to g1 and knight to f2 check. What can you say? When you're playing massive, powerful chess, you're playing massive, powerful chess. That knight outpost is simply incredible. And that's how to treat your knights. Notice, because he was able to get his pawns in the center advanced. And you'll notice that these two guys have been in tension now for a few moves, right? Yusupov would have been silly to just release the tension by taking that pawn with his e-pawn. That e-pawn is simply magnificently situated, and it's backed up by the rook on the e-file. Don't just exchange a pawn because, hey, there's a pawn I can get off the board. Hold on. Check your position. The knight is backed up. The pawn is backed up. The bishop is raking through, keeping the queen and the rook in a bad position on the white side. This is simply magnificent chess. And king moves to c1. E takes d2 check. Very cool. He doesn't remove the knight. He uses the pawn to once again help open the position, and he takes the pawn with tempo. He's checking the king. I mean, this is brutal. Can't take it. Heavens no, you can't take that pawn with. Heavens no, you can't take that pawn with the king. Don't even do that. No, no, and no, right? Hey, Moldavite. Oh, chess is you. There you go. Yeah. So this is really exquisite here with the king to b1, and he gets an exclamation point for that. And you go, really? Yeah. Let's check this out. That's going to come to d5, right? Now, here's the thing. The knight is covered by the queen, the white. Yeah. But there's no attack here. I mean, white wants to, if your opponent can bluff you, make it look like, hey, I'm coming after you, chump. And if he can bluff you and you fall for it, then that's fine and dandy. But this is not a very well thought out attack. In any manner, there's very, very little coordination left. And you're saying, yeah, but the queen can take the pawn and then he's in deep trouble. Well, let's see. The rook to h7. It's a small defensive move, but it does its job because this other rook is certainly the offensive piece of the game right now. Yeah? And, of course, the knight will take the knight. And that's what he means. The attack was not prepared. Bishop is going to come swooping, and you say, uh-oh, did you forget about that fabulous diagonal with the bishop? Because in a coordination of a fianchettoed bishop onto the G file like that, and you have a rook and a queen doubled up on the G file, isn't Yusupov in a little bit of trouble? Well, let's see. The rook will take the g7. The queen will take the g7 check. The king will go to e7. Notice he doesn't freak out. He's just gently, calmly getting out of the attack. Rook will come to f1. And king will come to d8. Get off the file because it keeps that bishop as a target. Don't keep your king in front of the rook. That rook is far too valuable. So, true, you have to take a couple of moves to get your king to safety. It's good. Do that. Yes. And here, white resigned. Because if queen takes h7, then knight c3 check. Nice fork on the bishop and the king. And if king comes to b2, then queen to d4. And you've got a discovered check coming up and a mate. And so this is quite the interesting position, because who among us, and I'm including myself in this, would not have freaked out seeing the queen and the rook with a coordinated fianchettoed bishop toward our king? That would have spooked us. Yes, Artur Yusupov shows how to play those ideas. So this is what makes Yusupov so enjoyable, in my opinion. He's one of the best to. Let me mark this that I'm done. And I'm gonna go short today. I apologize if that is inconveniencing you, but I have got to go get better. I'm not feeling real good. It's okay. I think it's a combination of allergies, and I've caught some kind of a stupid summer cold, and those are the worst, So I am going to go heal up. Thank you for all your support, for coming on watching. Appreciate you being in the audience. I love the fact that you guys are enjoying this Artur Yusupov chess stuff. I hope it's helping you. It's helping me. I'm enjoying this immensely. So you guys have a good weekend for the rest of the weekend. Oh, the fact that you are even on here. Well, yeah. Yeah, that's true. I can't just not do it. So we'll get through this one way or the other. Absolutely. I will. Big Daddy story time. Absolutely. All right. Love all you guys. I'm going to head out. You guys have a great weekend. See you next week, Saturday. Yes, absolutely. If not, through the week with other videos.